Welcome, everybody, to Sportsbook Review. This is Mike Brenner. It's January 1st. We're getting close to Super Bowl time. I'm talking today with Ross Benjamin, my old buddy, and I have missed doing videos with him. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 overlooked bets ahead of Super Bowl. And with that being said, I'm going to go right to Ross. Ross, first and foremost, it's good to have you back. Missed doing videos with you. I hope the playoffs have been good to you this year. And let's get into it and talk about these Super Bowl overlooked bets.
Well, thank you, Mike, and it's been a long time, and I certainly enjoy doing videos with you always, buddy, and it appears we're going to be doing them a couple times weekly, so I would encourage all the viewers to view into my videos with Mike Brenner and Peter Loshak when he's available.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
we had to give Pistol Pete a pass today. He had some business to take care of, and by God, he hates taking any time off. He thinks he's going to just ruin everything, and I'm like, Pete, we got this. You can do it, buddy, and you deserve an afternoon off.
Absolutely. Anyway, Mike, we were talking off air, and the bottom line with me is the 5 most overlooked Super Bowl bets. I don't get into props, okay? And obviously, the 2 main bets are the side and the total in the Super Bowl. So, like I alluded to you when we talked, let's take a look at first half wagering, side and totals, second half wagering, side and totals, and money line wagers. So I think those would be the 5 that I would discuss on my part. And I don't know if you agree or disagree. I can't speak for you. That are most overlooked bets in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I agree totally. Again, the way I do this, and I do it as an investment, make my living. I'm not big on the prop bets, the exotic bets, none of that stuff. Is it fun? Is it interesting? Is it funny? Yeah, but do I do research and try to bank money on it? No, for me, I don't. So I think the 5 that you have pointed out are the most important. So let's get right into it. And again, we don't have to give out picks or nothing. Just kind of talk about where it's at. Is the line fair? Momentum, who's got the edge, maybe? What do you think? So let's kick it off with that. What do you think of that line at -3?
Well, at -3, I think that's a pretty good line. And we've seen, I think it's a very fair line. I think it's an accurate line. And by all indications, Mike, we haven't seen much movement on either the side or the total in this game. So getting to the first half, we're looking at a line of, I have New England -1.5 and 29.5. Is that correct?
Yep, that's what I got.
What you're seeing. Okay. Well, again, we're not going to make any picks here. Just some thoughts. I mean, if you want to make a pick, Mike.
Yeah, I've got one that I've put out public, Pete and I both, and I'll put that at the end. Sure. Again, it's just my thoughts. But I think this is going to be a game for the ages, Ross. I think also you're looking at 2 explosive offenses, obviously. And I think the betting public's going to run to the window for the total. I'm not so sure on that. I got a feeling this is that game. It's going to stay under. I went official with it. Grabbed it at under 58.5. I like the fact that New England's defense, 15 points a game average. Yep. All right, under the radar all year, Ross. And Atlanta's defense has been getting sharper through the playoffs. And when Dan Quinn got that big, huge win against his mentor, Pete Carroll, that did just absolute, wonders for his confidence, and it's bled through to the defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, if not the most improved defense from week 1, they're certainly up in the top 5 because I thought that was their major enigma, Mike, going into after the first half of the season. I just kept saying, you know what, I can't put a lot of stock in this team the way they play defense. I know they could score, but that's dramatically changed, like you alluded to, during the playoffs and the tail end of the regular season as well. You made a good point. New England, they get a lot of praise for Tom Brady and the high-flying offense and the points they could score. But, the most vastly underrated part of the game this year has been their defense. Yep. 15 points per game, like Mike touched upon. Speaking of first half bets, keep this in mind, folks. New England has given up 7.3 points per game in first halves this season.
Wow.
So, I know they're playing a high-flying Atlanta offense, but keep that in mind. Obviously, when you only give up 15, Mike, that shouldn't surprise you. But when you put that in perspective, it's a little bit mind-boggling. So, and as far as your underplay goes, I agree. I mean, if I had to make a lean right now on the total, I would agree with you wholeheartedly on going under the total, Mike. And also, a couple other notes here. Atlanta has gone over the total in 11 of 18 games this year in the first half. New England has gone over the total in 12 of 18 in the first half. So I guess it leans that way. New England has also gone over the total in the first half the last 4 games, while Atlanta has done so in the last, or Atlanta actually has covered the last 6 in a row in the first half. And they're 14-4 against the spread in the first half this year, while New England covered 6 of the last 7 in the first half and 12-6 on the year against the spread in the first half, Mike. So really tough call in that regard.
Absolutely, and you just put out some great factors. That's some really good insight, Ross. And, again, with it being Super Bowl and you have coaches that get 2 weeks to study and break down the other's strength and make it a weakness, anything can happen both ways. I'm very, very impressed with Dan Quinn. What I'm more impressed with, because you really touched upon this, that defense was the biggest, thorn in their side. And I also had a few weeks where I was like, I can't back these guys. They can't keep scoring like that. But my hat's off to the offense. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan, if I'm correct, who's going to be leaving there. But that team hung on while the defense did what they needed to do to get to the point where they were now an adding factor and contributing to wins as opposed to leaning on the offense to outscore the other team. So I really, really am excited for Atlanta with all that happening. And my hat's off to Matt Ryan. The guy literally had 3 of the worst years after having everything. And he wanted to prove to everybody he was worth the money, and he was as good of athlete as people thought, and he has done just an amazing job. There's another key factor, and again, I'm not big on prop bets, but there was something on the sacks. They think it is going to be under 2 for each team or something like that. Let's not forget the number 1 team in the NFL with the most consistent and same lineup on their front offensive line is the Atlanta Falcons. The number 2 team is the New England Patriots. So sacks are not going to be a premium in this game. I don't think so. I'm excited as a fan.
Actually, if I could cut in a little bit here,
sure.
Mike, Atlanta is their 5 offensive linemen are the only ones that have started all season long. They've started the same 5 guys
every
only
game.
Team in the NFL. So a lot of continuity there, Mike.
Absolutely, and that is so hard. And again, it reminds me a little bit of the run, and it's different, but Carolina did what they did last year because they stayed healthy. They did what they needed to do. They had the consistency. And when something like that breaks down, that is such a big factor in a team's season and how everything goes result-wise. But this is going to be a great game for betting. It's going to be a great game as a fan. I can't wait for this one to kick off. I do. I really like the under. I'm not a totals guy. You know that, Ross. But there was something with this total that was so... It just was a calm that was inside my heart. And it just said, literally, this is going to cash. And something tells me when you get 2 explosive offenses, all right, that sometimes it goes the other way, especially when one of the defenses is doing what it's doing at 15 points a game. So I can't wait.
You said it best, Mike. They're going to be marching to the window to bet the over in this game.
Absolutely.
And they have already, okay? And we haven't seen much movement at all, which tells me that the books aren't scared of the over bets, even despite the fact these teams putting up gaudy offensive numbers so far in the playoffs and at the tail end of the regular season. Another point, Mike, as far as money line wagering goes, this might catch a lot of people by surprise, but teams that have won straight up this season, this is the 2016-2017 season, including the playoffs, teams that have won the game straight up have covered 219 and 33 against the spread. That's 86.9% of the time. So if you like a team to win this game, chances are they're going to cover, especially with that short point spread. And also, since 1980, there's been 18 underdogs that have covered since 1980 in the Super Bowl. 13 of those 18 teams have won the game outright. So just a couple hints there and clues when it comes to money line wagering in the Super Bowl.
You know what? They're not just hints. They're excellent betting tips. That's an advantage and an edge. Ross, the one thing I remember so clearly when I started doing videos with you, when you have a short spread, no matter what, basketball or whatever, you always said this, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Therefore, why not take the money line? I never forgot that, Ross. And you know what? With those numbers behind it showing the straight up winner, absolutely. Why not go the money line?
Yeah, especially if you like Atlanta.
Exactly, right? Especially if you're on the dog. Absolutely, good stuff.
The bottom line is when you're looking at 86.9% covers this year when you win the game outright and you're only getting 3, chances of you losing the game by 1 or 2 points, can it happen? We've seen it. Yes, absolutely. We know better not to say that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But the probability is low.
Yeah.
So, if you like Atlanta, take the points. You know, you want to cover yourself. If you lose by 3, you get a push, but also you're going to get a very nice price on the money line as opposed to the minus 110 at +3.
Absolutely. And anytime you could take that extra from the book, by God, do it with confidence. You know, there's another factor that is interesting in this game. And although the way Matt Ryan's playing, I don't think it's going to be a big factor. But Tom Brady, and I forgot this because just the way he is, he's got 4 weeks worth of very fresh legs. Let's not forget, guys, he didn't play the first 4 games. And I know sometimes it doesn't matter but a quarterback at 39, as good as he is, that 4 extra games he had off is going to benefit him. Now, he's going up against a gunslinger and a half that is absolutely dialed in, but that's just a factor I wanted to throw out there also for our audience, because that is something to at least take into consideration. Your thoughts on that, Ross?
Well, you know, here's the thing where I break it down and where I'm leaning on going, Mike. It's hard to go against Bill Belichick when you give him 2 weeks to prepare. He's a master at taking your best player out of the game and saying somebody else is going to have to beat me. Now, the problem with that, Mike, as you've watched and I've watched, is Atlanta doesn't have just one guy. Yeah. I guess you can make a case for Julio Jones, but, I mean, the receiver core as a whole have been very productive.
Unbelievable. And, Ross, I got to jump in real quick. Check this out, because that is a great fact. Here's the deal. I didn't know this till yesterday. This team has spread it out, all right, 10 receivers or more, if I'm correct, 9 or 10 receivers, all right, different people receiving the ball in 17 out of the 18 games they've played so far.
Yeah, and you can't discount the running backs.
No, Devonta Freeman's he's a beast. Yeah.
They're a vital part of their passing game, and both guys could run the ball and be very productive. So New England, as good as they are defensively, they'll have their hands full.
Oh, there's no doubt. And you know what, Tom? Belichick will be the first one to tell you that. But here's another factor again, and you said it. You give Belichick 2 weeks to study a team's strength, he'll turn that into a weakness, and then he's going to get to the next point. And I think it might throw them off of their regular plan. But then again, who knows? I saw a confidence in Dan Quinn when they had the handshake with Belichick, and I saw nothing but a confident man. So this team is certainly not lacking zero confidence. But another factor, again, don't know how important it is, let's not forget Atlanta only has 5 guys total on that roster that have any Super Bowl experience, and from what I was told, 4 of them didn't even play. All right, go to the other side of the ball. There's a hell of a lot of experience on that line, on that receiving core, everything involved. And again, you throw on a top defense and the best coach that might have ever walked the sidelines in NFL. Ooh, make sure we do our homework.
It's certainly a great matchup, Mike. It's very intriguing, and I don't think the NFL could have hoped for anything better. I guess they would have liked to see Dallas in there, but you know what? At the end of the day, the 2 best teams are going to be playing on Sunday, unequivocally the best. And I'd be disappointed if this wasn't a tooth and nail type of game right down to the end, Mike.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And you know what? I never gloat with my picks. I don't. We haven't talked much. I haven't talked to you a lot. I'm 26-3 for the playoffs this year. It's all documented. And again, I'll take the luck. Yeah, 26-3. And these are the 2 teams I've had the best feel for, all right, going into this Super Bowl. And I have to tell you, as a fan, I will not be disappointed at either team if they win, because I think they both deserve it. But I really feel like I got an edge, and I think that total's going to cash on that under, and I'm hoping I can take that momentum into the Super Bowl. So
I think you have a very good chance, Mike. I tend to agree with you on the total. If I had to make a slight lean at this juncture, we are filming on Wednesday.
Yep.
I'd like to see a little more line movement and money movement first, but I would have a slight lean toward New England because of the 2 factors you've alluded to, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, their experience, and that take nothing away from the job that Dan Quinn has done and the season that Matt Ryan has had. But it's hard to go against that combo in a Super Bowl when you're only laying 3 besides.
Absolutely, and you're right. And again, experience plays that. And then you got the chip on the shoulder. Tom Brady can't sleep. He's dying to take that trophy from Goodell and say, fuck you, excuse my language. But I know that this guy can't wait for this game. And as good as Atlanta is, this guy's on a mission, and there's nothing in his way. And I am absolutely, probably would say I would maybe lean that way as well, but we're going to reveal the picks. But I do know one thing. It is absolutely going to be one one of those games that you just don't even want to go up and go to the refrigerator unless it's a commercial. And another thing, and I think is very interesting, okay, Bill Belichick is the master of psychology, and I really feel something's going to happen before kickoff to where he's going to find a way to get into that coach and that team's head somehow, some way, and take that as an advantage. Again, I think he's done it many, many a time. But Tom Brady, I think, is on a damn mission right now, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, that's a miscellaneous factor that in handicapping that some people overlook. There you go right there, Mike, and it's a very good point.
Yeah.
They had the cards stacked against them without Brady the first 4 games, and here they are in the Super Bowl and as dominant as ever. And, I go back to the 1991 Super Bowl, I believe it was, when the Giants faced the Buffalo Bills. You remember probably, Mike, you're from my era. I mean, the Bills being my team, I remember this vividly, were one of the high-octane offenses in the NFL at that time with Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas, and they had that K-gun, no-huddle offense. They were well ahead of the curve in that regard. They looked unstoppable offensively, and the defensive coordinator of the Giants that day was Bill Belichick.
Yep.
And he shut them down, and in turn, the Giants were able to run the ball, control time of possession. It wouldn't be shock me at all if LeGarrette Blount is a big factor in this game, Mike.
You know what? I think you've been here in Costa Rica. You've been sitting at my desk looking at my notes, and I love I could talk to you for hours. All right, I also agree. Here's Belichick, and he was that coordinator, and I know you are the ultimate Buffalo Bills fan, and I still think it's the biggest travesty to sports that Jim Kelly and one of the greatest coaches of all time, Marv Levy, did not get that ring. And Scott Norwood, shame on you. But with that being said, you're right about that high-octane, no-huddle, shotgun offense that was so fun to watch. Kurt Warner was the only other one that could turn my head like that. And exactly what happened, and nobody gave the Giants a chance, and Belichick was that guy. In our business, we get a lot of haters. I had a Twitter guy the other day when I said they're going to beat Pittsburgh by double digits, no problem. A guy he goes, how in the hell, what makes you think? You explain to me, he said, what makes you think the Patriots, who have played nobody this year, can stop that offense? I said 2 names. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. I said, I'll leave it at that. I never heard from the guy again, obviously, afterwards. But, that is dangerous when you give those 2 time to figure out a plan.
Exactly. And as far as them not playing anybody, any game in the NFL, any given Sunday, as we well know, any team could beat any team. It's not like college football where there's a big disparity. And you know what? Even if their schedule wasn't as strong as other teams that made the playoffs this year, and I don't know that to be the case because I don't have the strength of schedule numbers in front of me, but you know what? They were still dominant in the way they won games, and that goes a long way. So.
It does, and nobody ever plugs holes better than Belichick. Let's not forget, you had your star quarterback out for 4. You went 3-1 in that span, if I'm correct. You also had, on a couple of occasions, both of your literally the high-end tight ends out of the game. They do nothing but plug holes. All of a sudden, you got Hogan. Who's Hogan? Now the guy's going to be a superstar. He's going to get $1 million contract. That's what he does, and it's dangerous to go against it. Hey, viewers, you had a diamond in the rough here because the information Ross Benjamin brought up about that Giants and Buffalo Bills Super Bowl, I'm telling you right now, that's probably some of the sharpest information, and nobody else, I guarantee you, nobody else in this industry revealed that information, so you better grab it, hold on to that tool, and then cash with it. Hey, Ross, do me a favor. Give a well-deserved plug for your website, rbwins.com. Tell our viewers what you do over there.
Well, I mean, you get all my picks that I personally bet on and my paying clients receive. That's rbwins.com right now in the NBA on a terrific roll, 19-9 in the last 28. My college basketball, I've hit 57% over my last 178 picks. I'm hitting 58% over my last 98 picks in all sports. NHL, been making a killing since 2012. I know a lot of you cashed in a lot of free winners this year by watching our SBR videos with Mike and Pete and myself. Time to pay the piper here. It's rbwins.com where you make a lot, to You pay a little to make a lot.
Pay a little to make a lot, and I love that. I've never forgot that either. Viewers, do yourself a favor, rbwins.com, and let's get his website up here on the video. Great stuff, my man. I could talk hours and hours of football, and that's just what's happening now. If we went back to the years of Buffalo and everything else, hell, we better put a whole month aside. Ross, as always, it's been a pleasure, and viewers, I hope you take advantage of it. And again, I think Ross is sold on that under as well, so cash that ticket, enjoy the Super Bowl. Hey, Ross, still looking forward to that day when we have that glass of wine together, my friend.
Absolutely, Mike. It's a long time coming, and I hope it comes soon.
Okay, my friend. We'll talk to you later.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.